Well, good afternoon, everybody. Welcome to Getting Started with Thinkorswim. I'm Connie Hill, Senior Manager and Education Coach. If you are new to using the charts in Thinkorswim, then I'm glad you're here today because today's class is catered to just the very basics of starting to use the Thinkorswim charts and hopefully bring up your comfort level. We know it's a hefty tool and you need some help as you start learning how to use the chart. So that's where our focus is going to be today. I'm happy that I am joined in the chat by Barb Armstrong. You guys all know Barb, and she's a great coach and friend. And she's been on the Thinkorswim platform several years as well. And so as you have questions, go ahead, ask. We're happy to field those questions. Barb might get to some of the ones I can't quite get to, but we'll both be keeping our eye on the chart. And I should say welcome to each of you that might be new, as well as some of the veterans that I recognize your names out in the chat. Happy to see you here today. Now, I hope you're following us on X. I'm Connie Hill, CS. Barb is Barb Armstrong, CS, and we'll post educational content, things we're seeing in the market. We'll make a note of it out on our X, and so you can kind of pick up on those tidbits. It's free. It's pretty easy. Doesn't have to be your platform of choice, but if you want to get in on some of those little nuggets, follow us. Well, let's go through our disclosures here today and get started with our agenda. Options carry a high level of risk and are not suitable for all investors. We'll be using the Paper Money software application. And actually, something for those of you that don't even know how to get to Paper Money, I'm going to show you how you can do that, how you log in differently than your live account. Past performance of any security or strategy does not guarantee future results or success. One thing I will let you know is there's a little bit of a difference between what Paper Money does and what your live account does. But if you know that 95% of it you can do in your paper account, it's really helpful to be able to practice there and not be practicing in your live account. It's nice to have that paper to go to. So what we're going to do, like I said, we're going to focus on just the very basics of the charts, and even starting with some of the basics as you log into Thinkorswim. That's actually where we're going to start. So let's head over to a chart here. And then I'm also going to bring up here a screen. All right, I've got a black screen that we're going to be working on most of the time. And then this second screen is actually a white colored background. Now, when you initially come into Thinkorswim, you will want to put in whatever your username is, okay? If you wanted to remember your username, go ahead and check that box. Before you hit continue, you want to make sure you either are in live trading or just toggle over here if you want to go to Paper Money. Okay, so that is kind of how you switch back and forth. Now on a Windows machine, you're going to be able to have, if you want, a live version up, meaning going to your live account, and a paper version going up, okay, which is very helpful. It's a little more tricky to get Apple to do that. But in a Windows environment, it's pretty easy. Now, one of the things you're going to notice here is that I have a light colored background, and immediately some of you are going to like the white, some of you are going to like the black, okay? So on this screen, if you wanted to change things, come down to this gear. See that gear just to the left of live trading? Click on the gear, and then you can pick your color scheme. So right now that one's set to light, but if I want the dark, you go ahead and you pick dark there, okay? Those, and then go ahead and save it. Okay, I'll go ahead and hit save here so that you can kind of see, oh, it updated, and when it logs in the black, this is what it looks like, pretty much like the white, just black instead of white. Okay, that's all for the logging in piece. But again, to practice, go to this Paper Money site. It makes it really helpful for you. One thing that's nice on the Paper Money side is that it put some markings on there for you. Can you see how this little splash, instead of being blue, is kind of brownish and goldenish? It's kind of a brownish and yellowish color scheme on it. And everywhere you go, it says paper trading. This is not a real account. Paper trading just kind of reminds you all over the place, which is really helpful. Somebody has a question here. I have a few questions. How do you open custom script columns for a watch list? I'll see if I can't dip my toe in there just a little bit to answer your question here today. But I really want to stick with today, this week, some of the real basics of the charting. And then next week, we'll do a part 2 where we get into some of the more advanced things with the charting once you've got the basics mastered. Okay. Let's see, when I go to Schwab, I log in like normal first. You can log in into either Thinkorswim, live or paper. You can log into schwab.com. You can do your trading there. There's a web version of Thinkorswim some of you might have run across, and it looks very different from what we're looking at here. The web version, you go to trade.thinkorswim.com, and then you can log into either your live account or your paper account, depending on what you're interested in. Okay, so hopefully that answers your question. All right, let's head on. All right, let's get out of this and let's get oriented with the charts here to begin with. Now, down at the bottom, you are going to see some dates. Oops. Let's try this again. Dates down here at the bottom. And I have open right now a 1-year chart. And each of these little things you're seeing here is what we call candles. We'll get into that in a little bit. And every single candle represents a day in the market. And you can see just kind of right up there, I'm indicating we are looking at a daily chart. Okay. Over here on the far right side is the price. And so we see, well, let's see, I got a little wild with that. Basically, you see that price on the right-hand side and gives you an idea. All right, what is the value of Apple? That's the stock we're just going to use for our example here. All right, next up, let's do this. When you want to change the settings in chart, your big key thing to keep track of here is going to be this gear. Because when you click on the gear, it's going to give you several choices of things. And we're going to go through and pick some of them, see what it looks like. Pick some of them, see what the implication of that is. All right, so let's do that. So first off, we're going to click on that gear. And at the top, you're going to see several tabs. Starts in the general tab, price axis, time axis, and so forth. We'll go through each of these. In the general, it basically means this is applicable to, pretty much everything on your charts. All right. And you can pick and choose certain things you'd like to see on the charts. I just have vanilla here. I just have our candle chart. We'll get into the chart type in a minute here. But from this particular screen, a couple things that it's helpful that some people like to do is they like to show high and low bubbles, which will show the 52 weeks high and the lows. We'll show you that in a minute. If you want to see the last price, you can put it in a bubble. If you want it to show your previous trades, or the trades that you're in right now, I should say, you can click on Show Trades. And let's just do it to there for a moment. I'm going to hit Apply and show you what we're seeing here. So see this little high bubble here? That means a few days ago, let's zoom in. A few days ago, that was the high price in the last 52 weeks, which is nice to see. And then you see this little green here over here on the far right side. That's the current price or the last price bubble. Okay. You can see it listed right there in the bubble. You can also see it listed kind of up here near the top by where your ticker symbol is of Apple. And to change charts, all you do is type in the new ticker symbol, or we'll also look at using some links on it as well. Okay, let's go back to our gear. Let's suppose that we're going to go to the price axis now. Price axis you might not really fiddle with a lot, okay? But one thing that might be helpful to you is this area over here called expansion area. And basically, it's going to say, hey, let's give you some more chart to work with. You can either do it on the upside of where the graph is right now or the downside. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to put in here, just kind of so it's a big, obvious number. Many times I'll use 10%. In this case, I'm going to do 20% so that you can see it. And what I want you to notice is what is the high price on the graph right here? Well, it looks like it's 305.05. And if I go ahead and I hit apply here, whoa, 305.05 dropped down. And now this is the 20% up here, and we're seeing these little bit higher prices. Now, where that might be helpful is if you're trying to do lines out into the future or channels out into the future. We're going to change the time axis as well here. If we come over here to time axis, then we can have some more space down here at the bottom. And it can be really helpful. One that I'll do 15 days pretty frequently, because that's going to give us 3 weeks into the future. So what's our last date that we can see down here is May 18th, which was Monday. Let's go ahead and hit apply here. And let's say, okay, so we can get out of the way here. I'm kind of zoomed in a little bit, but you can see down here at the bottom, okay, great. We see 3 more weeks here worth of time. So if we have drawings that we want to go out into the future, sometimes we want your support and your resistance. Again, if you're drawing a channel, which we'll get into, being able to have the chart extend a little bit is really helpful. All right. I am just going to check our chat here real quickly, because I think we've got several questions coming up here. All right, Barb, thank you for helping out with these questions. And Barb's even put out a short video that she did recently. If this is the, oh, actually, no, maybe it isn't one that she did recently. It could be, though. Here's a short video on adding scripts, which is answering the previous question that I said I might get into if we have time to do so. Okay. The version of Thinkorswim that we're using, this downloaded desktop version, is the most robust version. It has the most features, the most functionality. Web version is coming along. They're adding lots of functionality into the web version frequently. On the web version, you don't have to download software. For this one, yeah, you do have to download software. That's called, we'll call it the desktop version or the software version. Well, let's go back to our gear here. And I'm going to come back to our price axis. I really don't want to see 20% up. I'm going to change this down to about 8%. Okay. And then we clicked on our favorite time axis here. Here we're seeing the time interval, which I told you initially we're on a 1-year chart, and it's showing aggregation period as 1 day. And that's where that D, it comes into play. If we change our time frame, it might not be daily anymore. We're going to change our time frame here in just a moment. Something I think is helpful to have on the time axis here is corporate actions. What are corporate actions? This lets us know when earnings reports are due, when the conference call is likely to happen, as well as when dividends are due to be paid. So yeah, those corporate actions can be really helpful. If you want, you can show year marker lines, which I think is helpful. And for option traders, if you would like it to show your expiration Fridays, you can select here and that'll show it to you. Okay, let's go ahead and hit apply. Oh, there's one other thing I wanted to show you. I wanted to show you here, going back to the general tab. I wanted to show orders. And I want it to show extend order alerts lines to the left. We don't need that on. Okay, let's just add the show orders here. I'm going to hit apply. We're going to say okay, and I'm going to kind of back out here a little bit. I have an order on Apple to sell it. I've got a spread going on here, and I've got an order in here that when it reaches a particular point, I want it to sell. Okay, so this is showing me on the chart approximately where that is. And if I mouse on it, you're going to see it'll balloon out and it'll say, okay, you've got this vertical on Apple, shows us the strikes. And then it's showing that I put in an order here to get out at $8.23 when the value of the spread is worth that. Okay, so that can just be a helpful little thing that you have in there. All right, let's go back to our gear. This time, let's go to appearance. Now, appearance is where you can change a lot of how the chart functions for you. Now, I have it on right now the candle type chart. But there's some various candle type charts. There is something that's called a bar chart, which kind of looks like this. Basically, it has the same data as a candle chart, but candles kind of fill in the distance between, say, the closing price and the opening price here. Okay, it goes ahead and it gives it a color, either a green or a red. There's something here called Heikin-Ashi candles, which are a different calculation of candles. You probably don't want to start on your Heikin-Ashi candles. You probably just want to start on one of two, either the candle or the candle trend. Okay, candle trend gives us some additional information that the regular candle doesn't. And what it does for us is it shows the relationship between where the price is now and the previous day. Okay, I'm going to go back to just the basic candle here. And then let's kind of work on this bottom area. Well, let me take that back. If you want it to fill in all your candles, you can. Right now we have the reds or the bearish days filled in with red. And then we have the green ones, the up days on the candle. We've got them kind of set as hollow, but if we wanted to fill them in, we could. I could come over here to where it says fill up green. Okay, if we wanted it filled in, we could. And just kind of depending on how you're working on your charts, you might develop a preference there. There may be people that are colorblind, and you might be saying, I cannot even see the difference between my red and my green candles. That can be helpful to maybe not use it filling up, right? Leaving it open here. And then, if you just don't want to use green and you can see blue a lot better, change it to blue. Change it to whatever color you want. Okay, now a couple more things. Your cursor, I've made mine giant and green on my mouse properties, but on my cursor, you can come down here and set some information on it. So I like it when I'm on the chart to show a crosshair. Okay, what's a crosshair? It's where you see the vertical line and the horizontal line where your mouse is. We'll take a look at that. If you don't like that or don't want all of it, you don't have to have it. But again, I have it showing both, and I have it in a gray color. Again, you can pick whatever color you want. Here's a function here that says snap crosshairs to, and I actually don't like it to snap. I like my lines to draw where I want them to draw. But if, for example, you wanted it to try to connect your high prices or your low prices, you certainly could do that here. Okay. Then the volume bars. You can have some choice. Right now, it's set to this preset color of blue. Maybe you like blue volume, that's fine. Maybe you want your volume bars to match the same color as your candles. If you want to do that, just click in this radio button here. And so you can see, okay, it was a green candle there. Oh, it's green volume, red volume because of the red candle, and so forth. This little character here is what we call a doji. And essentially the opening and closing price are the very same. And so it doesn't really have a candle body. It just has that one line. And so they've got this one set up to show in gray. Again, if you don't like gray, change it, okay? But the gray is matching the doji candle here as well. All right, background color. Now, right now, the background color, when I set that theme to be black, part of what it did here is put the background color of the chart to black. Again, if you wanted a different color, change it. Let's do something, we'll say if we did a gray background. That doesn't look so great with the colors I have chosen there, but you could choose another background. You don't like any of these, go pick this. I think Barb has a nice, pleasant little pink background, something like that. So if you liked that better, great, right? You get to choose what it looks like. I'm going to put it back to black. Then this last one here says grid. And if you would like it to show you a little grid throughout, you can. So I'm going to check grid so that you can see what that looks like. Again, the color here is gray, so that maybe you can see it a little bit better. Maybe I will try a blue here. And then we're going to hit apply. So we see a little bit more, and I'm going to kind of move the screen out. So now you can see that grid in that light blue color. Sometimes people like it, sometimes people don't. It's just totally personal preference. All right. Let's see, question here says, on the line with of your candle, does that make the whole candle or just the wicks thicker? Ooh, ooh, ooh. I think what you're referring to here is the line width. Let's check it out. What if we change it to 5? Let's see, I think it only goes to 5. Oh, it goes higher than 5. Ooh, let's go to 10. Can you see how we made those candles bigger, as including the shadow as well as the body? It made it bigger as I was incrementing it. If I go really fast, then it's back to really skinny. Okay, so maybe you want to have it a little bit thicker, a little bit more dynamic there. Great question. That's exactly where it comes in. All right, let's go ahead. We'll hit apply again. That means our little candles, they're going to look a little bolder. Some of you might think it looks a little fuzzy because it is kind of bigger and bolder. All right, then we have equities, options, futures, Forex, and crypto. Crypto is going to be new. It's not a lot in crypto yet. Equities means if you want certain things on the chart when you're pulling up an equity symbol, this is where we specify it, okay? So on here, I think a default comes in here showing the volume subgraph. I actually don't like that because I'd like to choose a different volume out of the studies. But if you're put on the volume in the studies and you can't figure out how to get rid of the subgraph that shows up here, I'll hit apply, and you're like, man, I've got this other subgraph of volume. This is where it came in. Okay, I'm going to uncheck that. It's going to go away. I love it to show corporate actions. This is where we can see earnings announcements, where we can see where they happened in the past, where they're coming in the future. Here, if we have 3 weeks right now out and it's not going to have earnings in the next 3 weeks, we won't see anything, but you can see where it had it most recently here in April. You can see when their earnings was, and then it looks like a dividend payment came in here in the first part of May. All right, if you want to see any videos, you can show those. You can show option prices, but I think it makes things a little cluttery here. But if you hit show options, hit apply, what it does, it shows you kind of where your calls and your puts are, these little blocks. One's a P and one's a C for call and put. And it's putting them at where the strike prices are. So basically 295 here, 300 here. Again, you might not want that. I don't like to have it personally. Okay. After hours trading, where it says here, show extended hours trading session. If you select this, and what it will do for you, I'm going to show you. You can see the extended hour trading of stocks in pre-market and post-market. So let's take Apple here. We've selected that. I'm going to say apply. And then what you would want to do is come out here to your time frame, which we'll spend a minute here, and go to what's called an intraday chart. Okay, so this one is a 1-day chart, 1 minute. And I'm going to kind of zoom out here. See how this area is grayed out? This is what was happening with Apple in the pre-market. Okay, so we can see what was going on. Sometimes this is really helpful if a company is announcing in the morning or announcing at night. For example, tonight, NVIDIA is going to be releasing their earnings. Okay, and so if we put in NVIDIA, have that in here, didn't do a ton this morning, okay, but you can bet when they announce their earnings later today, you will see some activity. And so what'll happen, this is our current hours right now where the black background is. Once the closing bell rings, great, then it'll start with some more gray shading again. And then when the news comes out, you'll be able to see the market's reaction to the news. Okay, so you have a couple things there. You've got to take it to an intraday chart to be able to see the background. If you wanted to see 5 days, 5 minutes, you could do that. Just letting you know that you've got to pick an intraday chart for it. Now I'm going to go back here and put this back on a 1 year. I'm going to go back into our gear. If there are specific things that you want to see on option charts, you can set them here. Futures, if you are trading futures contracts and you want specific things set up here, you can do it. So for example, I'll come down here and show extended hours trading because I want to see it, and then I'll have a highlight extended hours, and that's where it puts in that gray color, changing it from the black color. Okay. Let's see here. If we'd like to have more than one display with the same setup, how do we do that? Let me ask you this. Do you mean display as in you would like multiple monitors and to have different parts of the toolbox on different monitors? Is that why you mean display? Or do you mean showing, like, say, different charts on different monitors? Give me a little bit more information there, okay? Wacky thinks the after hours is basically happy hour after the normal trading session ends. It is, and sometimes it can be helpful, and there may be times you just want to look at it, but you don't want to trade it, but you're interested in knowing what happened with the price, right? You want to know, like, when the rest of the market does. If something reports at night, like NVIDIA is tonight, and you want to see what's going on, and so let's suppose it drops. Okay, suppose the market initial reaction is they don't like the news, so it drops. In the morning, it doesn't have to be trading there. It could totally change. More news could come out. Brokers can upgrade the stock. All sorts of things can happen so that where it was in post-market trading does not have to reflect where it's going to be in pre-market. Okay, so again, that gear is your key to just a ton of that. All right, I think I've got another question in here. Let's see. Robert's trying to help user out here. Let's see what user needed. User. Okay, once you see the changes, settings and preference after you click apply, do you have to save the workspace to ensure these settings pull up in the future as well? That's a really good question. And I'm going to say a nice thing to do is to save your workspace once in a while. As you add to it, as you bring in scripts, as you create different formulas, as you create different time frames, all of that, if you want to kind of keep it, yes, come up here to your setup and say save workspace as. In fact, I did one today. I saved my workspace as today's date, May 20th, 2026, because I had changed some things in there. I need to do some cleaning up, clearly. But yeah, that can be really helpful to have. Sometimes also if Thinkorswim does an update and it wipes out some of the things you had going, they try not to do that, but sometimes it happens. Then you can go back to that workspace as well. You can, if you're like, oh, some stuff is missing, come out here to your setup and go pick May 20th or whatever you named your latest one that you want to use. Yeah, you can go and pick it. All right. Few more things I really want to get to here. Let's talk about time frames. Told you this is a daily chart, 1 year daily. When you initially open up your charts, you have maybe like 4 or 5 settings. And I have a lot more than 4 or 5 settings on here now. Okay, so did I create some of them? Yes. Now I deleted some so I could show you how to bring them back. Oh, I thought I deleted them. Actually, they're sitting there. Let's do this. I'm gonna, well, I just changed that to 3 months. So what I'm gonna do is customize, and I will go delete a couple here. I can highlight and hit delete, or I could just double click if I wanted. So I just got rid of 1 month and 3 months. So let's go add them back in. Okay. You've got to be on the customized charts. Then you come over here and you say add time frame. Okay, good. It's going to bring up a box. We can set that up. So now let's do a 1 month, because that's the one I deleted, and I like the daily time frame on it. And let's add as well. Let's see what this did. I click on that one, the add 3 months, 1 day, because it was what I had highlighted last. And so it creates them down here at the bottom. Now, I'm a little OCD on this kind of stuff, and I like it to be with the rest of the group. Okay, so my 1 month, I would move up here to be above my 6 months. And then my 3 months, I'm going to move up to be just under the 1 and above the 6. Okay, so that it goes, so it's kind of sequential. It's kind of what I like to do. Okay, so you can add whatever time frames you want. You might want intraday time frames, and to add a time frame there, instead of picking daily, pick intraday. And say you wanted a 1 day 10-minute chart or 9-minute chart, you absolutely could create that. Okay, I'm not going to because I don't want it, but that's how you would do it. All right, let's talk a little bit about studies. How many of you like to add studies or see studies on your charts? I do. I like to see different studies. Where do you put on the studies? I think there are several ways you can do it. You can click on this little beaker here, which is Edit Studies. There's another Studies over here, and it has the word Studies on it. If you click on Studies, it's going to give you a choice of a quick study, which means some of these that are already configured for you, and you can go in and pick it. Or you can pick Add Studies, and it puts them in groupings. Okay, there's one way to do it. I'm going to come over to this one because I want it to just bring up a list of all of them for me to choose from. Now, let's suppose we wanted to put on a couple moving averages. Okay, in this little box here, I can start typing, and I'm going to start typing the word simple because I'm going to look for simple moving average. Just get to SIM, and then I've got it showing here on the screen. I'm going to double click, send it over. If your double click doesn't work, just have it highlighted and hit Add Selected. The default here is a 50-period moving average, which is fine. But I'm, again, a little OCD, and I like my 50-day moving average to be red. So I'm going to change the color to red. Maybe you like to see different studies, RSI, MACD, stochastic. I'm going to put on a MACD histogram. Come over here, highlight it. And again, I just typed in those first 4 letters to get MACDs up. And then sometimes people might want different settings in there. I kept the 50 because it was okay, and we'll use it. But suppose on the MACD you had a specific reason to change the settings, then you could come in and change the settings. Maybe I want this to be 817.9. That's a little bit faster MACD setting than that initial default. You can put that in. And if you want to see arrows, you want to see it when it breaks above the 0 line to give you a green arrow, or if it drops below to give you a red arrow, you can say show breakout signals. You can change that to yes. The default there has been no. And then on the signal, this is saying, well, we're going to give you draw as an arrow. It's only going to be the thickness of a 1 unless you change it to green. So up arrows are going to be green, and the down arrows are going to be red. And then I said, make them a little bit thicker. Okay. Well, that's good enough for now, but whatever studies you want to have, go ahead, set them up. Now, you're going to find there's times when you like certain studies and other times when you like a totally different group of studies. So suppose this was my favorite, okay? And I wanted to save it so that I didn't have to go set it up all the time, even though it wasn't that difficult. Come over here and say Save Set As, and then you give it a name, okay? So it says give this study set a name. I have a tendency to name them what's in there. So I would call this like 50 SMA. Oops, where did it go? Save Set As. I think I hit my enter key there too quick. 50 SMA MACD histogram. That's my abbreviation for that. So you would name it whatever makes sense to you. That's as a study set. Now, I'm not going to hit save because I really don't want to save it, but normally you would. Okay. And then when you want to call on it, again, you can come up here to your studies and you can say load study set. Now I didn't save it, right? It keeps the type of chart you have. So in this case, candles. If it were really a line chart and you saved it as a study set, it would save it as a line chart with all of those other elements with it. So in my case, where I have load style, you can see I have quite a few more styles than studies because I like my charts to look consistent. Now, you may be somebody that likes variety and you like to have all sorts of colors. That's okay, right? You do it however it makes sense to you. But say you needed to change study sets or wanted to. Come over here to load style, and I'm just going to pick another one. Let's pick one that has a bunch on it. Let's pick this one, a 21, 50, and a 200-day moving average. Okay. So I had saved it with particular candles. They weren't outlined. These were the solid ones. And then I've got some different moving averages here. Here's my RSI that was part of that study. And here's my volume down at the bottom. Okay. So you will have different needs for different study sets. So great. And you can do it as the study set, or if you want it to save all the formatting, like with the black background and the kind of candle you like and so forth, then you could save it as a style. All right. Uh-oh, Barb said, hang tight, we'll be right back. Have I got a streaming issue? Okay, looks, our producers let me know that we were down for about 5 seconds, but we're back up. Okay, that's good. If I miss something material and you're like, what, I'm lost now, then tell me and I'll go back and see if I can figure out what I said during that period of time. But basically, just if you want it to cover more things to save, like the formatting, do it as a style. If you just like the study sets, you can do it studies, save study set. And then to go, switch back and forth between them, just load study set, pick whatever it is that you want. Next up, let's talk about zooming in and zooming out here for a minute. Now I have this set up on what was this chart when I pulled it up? Oh, that one happened to be a 6-month chart. So that capped as part of the style is a 6-month chart instead of a 1-year chart, okay? Well, what if I want to zoom in and see today's price action a little nicer? We can see NVIDIA has earnings tonight, so we see that that came on. But if we come in and click, hold your mouse down, drag, then release, then it just zooms in on the area that you just did that to, okay? If we want to zoom out, we can come to the bottom. There's a minus magnifying glass and a plus. So the plus is zoom in, the minus is zoom out. And then if, say you're zoomed in too far or something, you're like, oh, it's just a mess, just come up here and pick whatever you wanted to start back up with. Maybe you decide to go to 3 months or whatever it is. You can just quickly pick it there and get it all back to where it was before you started doing the zoom. Now, let's talk about, let's see here. Let's do a quick little trade, and then I'm going to show you how you can use some drawing tools. Now, I'm going to get rid of NVIDIA here, and I'm going to go back to Apple because I had cleaned up my Apple chart so it didn't have any drawings on it. But many of you are going to want to draw things like support and resistance, right? We have some drawing tools. How do you access the drawing tools? There's a few different ways. Way number one is to come up here where it says drawings and click on it. Our active drawing right now is the underline. And so its icon is a $sign and an underline. And then you want to see all the drawing tools come down here and it balloons out. So here is the one I currently have selected, but suppose I wanted to do a trend line. I could just come over here and pick trend line. To draw a line, click where you want to start, click and release. Okay, so I'm moving my mouse, but my button isn't put in, right? Because I released it. And maybe I go and draw where I kind of find some support and then click again to anchor it in. On a black screen, your default line color is white. On a white screen, your default color is going to be black, but you can change it, okay? suppose you come over here and you say, I don't want white, right mouse click, edit the properties, and down here in the bottom, this is where the color is. This is the white. Okay, so if you wanted it to be green, you would just change it to green. And then if you want all your lines to always be green, change it to save as default. Okay, and then the rest of the lines that you do are going to be green. Okay, now edit properties is true of all the different drawing symbols. Okay, another place you can go and get your drawing symbols, or your drawing tools rather, is you can click your scroll on your mouse. Okay, so right now I'm just doing a quick click and release on the scroll on my mouse. Or another way, down here at the very bottom, it says drawing set, and you can see that trend line icon. That's the current highlighted drawing tool. That's the one that's active right now. So it shows you here on the bottom, also shows you up here on the top. All right. Let's suppose that you wanted to document your trades a little bit. We'll do this pretty quickly here. And I put in earlier today, I put in a trade on, I think I did it on Apple. No, I didn't. I did it on Amazon. Where's my Amazon? Oh, where did I put it? In any case, I'll show you what I did on Amazon. Went over to here, and I had a spread trade on. Okay, so this applies to those of you that maybe trade spread options. And I like to mark where my short leg is. So suppose I had just done a trade on Apple and say the short leg were at 290. Okay, I'd change my drawing tool, pick it to an underline, and then I'd get it to about 290 and act like I want to draw a line. And if I get it pretty close, I'm going to click on it. And then I would edit this line and I would make it exactly 290. And then in here, I might just do a little drawing, 290, 295. Let's say I did a long call vertical. I'd put in a little abbreviation for it. And then over here, right now it says don't show this line. I would change it and say, oh, show it on the right side. Okay, so that I see this little documentation. And sometimes I'll put the expiration date on there. Like I say, expiration date is September 17th. Then I'll put that on. I'll say, okay. And then you can kind of see some information. So that's what I mean, documenting your charts. There's a lot of different drawing tools you could use to help you do that. All right. Next week, we'll go into more details. These are kind of some of the basics, and I would say practice them this week. Go out in your paper money, add some time frames, start drawing some lines, see where support and resistance is, draw those little lines in, and just practice. Practice changing to the colors you want. Practice adding a new study set or a new style, okay? That is the best way to learn. Now, I want to point out some other resources to you. If we come over here to our Trader Talks channel, if you're a subscriber, I'll let you find our content really easily. If you're not a subscriber yet, come down. There's a little YouTube button in blue in the bottom right-hand corner, kind of a little bit below where my mouse is, that says subscribe. And you just click on it once to subscribe. Don't do it twice because it'll unsubscribe you. It's a little toggle. But there are certain things that we have. So if I come down here to some bite-sized content, I've done a bunch, and Barb's done a bunch of videos down here that'd be really helpful to you. So I did some that are called, well, this one I just did last week. It's kind of a shorter one that teaches you how you can create custom columns on the monitor tab, but then you can use them in different areas, not just the place where you created it. Okay, you can use it different places in the platform. We have a set here. Cameron teaches a class that's typically this class about how to use the Thinkorswim platform and some of the very basics. And he has 8 basic lessons that he's created right here. Now, what I was going to show you, that Barb's done some videos here. Under this bite-sized content, if you come over to the arrow, oh no, well, you don't have to hit the arrow. Do play all. It's going to bring you up a big old list. Barb has a bunch that she's done on different candlestick formations, and I have some done that are called Quick Tips for Thinkorswim. Okay, so they're just short little videos, less than 10 minutes, that show you some particular aspect or lesson or a principle. Mine, we're focusing on the Thinkorswim platform. Barb, she's focusing just on those candlesticks, and so those can be really helpful to you. All right, you guys, my time is up. Hope you've picked up a few new little hints, especially if you're new. Hopefully your comfort level has increased on using the tools on the Thinkorswim platform. Now, coming up next is a session that's a little bit more advanced. It's called Trading Index Options. Ben Watson does a super job with that. I got to be his chat person in there. He does a fabulous job. So if you want something a little more challenging, maybe a little bit more advanced, that might be the class for you. All right. See you next week where we do part 2. Thank you, Barb, for your help. Thank you all for being here. Bye-bye.